Did you know that God wants to have a relationship with you? True worship, knowing God, is dedicated to finding out more about who God is and His ways, so you can worship Him better. There was a time when I spent a lot of time studying the Bible, but I wasn't happy in my relationship with God. And whenever I went back to study, to diligently seek God as He has told us to do, it was then that I began to understand more about who God is. It was then that I began to understand that God wants to have a relationship with His people. And a perfect example of that from the Bible is in the book of Genesis, when it says that God came down and He was walking in the garden in the coolness of the day with Adam and Eve. God wants to be among His people. And then, even after Genesis, in the book of Exodus, in chapter 25, verse 8, we see that God said, "Let them build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." So God wants to be in the presence of His people. And even farther in the Old Testament, from the book of 1 Kings, chapter 8, verse 13, when Solomon built the temple so God could dwell in that holy place. And so what that means for us today is that God wants us to know Him, and by knowing who He is, His nature and His attributes, we may come into a better relationship with Him. Because if you know God's ways, you can't help but love Him. And in loving Him, you're going to seek out diligently to find out more about Him. And in doing so, you're going to have fulfillment and godly joy in your relationship with God more than you've ever had before. So that's why it's important to have a close relationship with